All praise is due to Allah, who is the one that brings hearts to Him. There's no God except Him. He is one without any partners. No servant should ever turn to other than Allah, nor rely upon anyone except Him. And to make all of our turning to Allah, we bear witness and testify that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the best of the best and the most pious of the pious. And he is the closest of the beloved people to Allah. He is the seal of the prophets and is the beloved of Allah. Prayers and salutations of Allah be upon him and upon his companions and those who take from his adab and character, and also prayers upon the companions and the followers and Allah's pious servants. Allah is the most noble of the noble and most merciful of the merciful. So the Shaykh commenced explaining this hikmah aphorism, the saying of Ibn Atta'illah: no person who has established in their being chosen, they have not necessarily been purified. So those who are close to Allah, realizing realities of annihilating themselves in Allah and realizing that Allah is the only one that remains, other people, even though they have been chosen, they still have remnants of seeking to remove ailments from them. Allah says, we gave the book to those who we chose from servants. They have entered the takhsis. Allah has chosen them from other people, but not all of them have fulfilled its right and benefit from the Quran. So there are 3 degrees. So there are those who are advancing by the permission of Allah. And all of them, some of people are a bit moderate in their application. They've all been received the Quran and been addressed by the Quran, but they're not all the same. The one who goes forward in all the good is the advancer. And the one who oppresses themselves is the one who fails. So likewise, a person who has the divine assistance manifesting upon them and who was chosen with Islam and faith and doing good and attending gatherings of goodness and staying away from gatherings of people of heedlessness and sin, this is a great blessing. But not all of these people of these characteristics that have these things, they still have ailments and barriers, and in some ways he is outside the nobility of steadfastness. He is chosen, however, he has not yet purified himself properly. So such a person would have cleansed themselves from some sins or faults, but there still remains other faults and sin. Some things which may break him from treading the path are still there. Such a person, generally a person who is sincere and true and at the door of Allah, put in effort, those who strive in our way, Allah says, we will guide them to our path, and those who have been given the divine assistance and the introductory being chosen by Allah, then he should also purify themselves so that Allah can take him for himself. So that way he'll be for Allah solely. And he will only witness Allah. He will see that Allah is the one that gives. He won't see that he is the one that's doing. anything, but rather he sees that Allah is the one that's giving him. So he is engaged with Allah. So he witnesses the benefactor. It no longer witnesses his own efforts and deeds. This is a person who has been purified. And deepening oneself in sincerity is one of the greatest reasons and causes to takhlis, that Allah will free you from anyone other than him. That you do not seek anyone other than him, not yourself, nor other than yourself, nor anything in the creation. Allah will then choose you. Allah will then free you from everything. Allah says to Musa, and I have created you for myself. La ilaha illallah. So those people brought near to Allah, Allah says, we had made them sincere. We have chosen them. So see, who is it that you seek to be like? Where are we from this awareness and saving ourselves from being perished? Look how many people are trying to emulate those who are distant from Allah. So why should you follow such people? Following their thoughts and speech, they're far away. This person has not yet treaded the path, doesn't know who created him. Someone that's following a fasik, an open transgressor, and trying to emulate him in some ways. If you have turned to Allah and being sincere in your turning to Allah, you still need someone to help you. But what if you are connected to something which is satanic or wrong, or a person of disobedience? If you say such a person is good or beautiful or nice, who has sold you upon the open transgressors? And these are the worst of people that you are being sold towards. How are you going to get to Allah through such corrupt people? May Allah protect and save the Muslims, and protect us and save us from all of our errors. So that which we perform of act of obedience is a great blessing. However, not every person who performs these acts of ibadat have become purified. A person who continuously sees themselves in these ibadat, they are still veiled. And when you are sincere, Allah will purify you. So Allah will choose people and Allah will purify people. There are some people who have been chosen but have not yet been purified. Sometimes you find the Gnostics, Arifin. I put effort in ibadah so long and I thought that I arrived, but then I looked at myself. He said, I still had a remnant of the people of the book. So may Allah remove our ailments from us, and the darknesses and veils from us, and ennoble us with reaching Him. So the first group are asked to remove the ailments. The Arifun seek fana and annihilation such that they don't witness their own selves, because they are witnessing upon the secret of oneness of Allah, say Allah, then leave them in their affairs, playing and amusing themselves. So these are the waham. This is the delusion. Such a person sees themselves. Such a person is in the cage of delusion. Who is he to see himself or witness himself? Do not say that Islam, is a favor that you're doing for me. This is a favor that Allah has given you. So the favor is to Allah, the bounty is to Allah and His messengers, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in our Islam. May Allah be pleased with them. And the one who refined them, the companions, he is the great refiner, the great murabbi, the great trainer. And the companions directly were trained by him, refined by him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What a great blessing. His tazkiyah, it's his tarbiyah, it's his purification. And those after them, they purified themselves through the shuyukh to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the Prophet that purified them, but through means, intermediaries, steps. They are the shuyukh. So there are people. So one level, a person tries to no longer witness their deeds, another person tries not to witness themselves. This is another level. And no longer witnesses themselves. They only witness one, that's Allah. They will have the miracles, supernatural occurrences. If, however, they feel comfortable with them and they stop at them, then what happens? If he becomes comfortable with them, he has left the boundary of ubudiyya. It then becomes a bit of a test for such a person. Why? Because they are becoming comfortable with the supernatural occurrences and the karamat, becomes istidraj, and becomes a trial upon that person. But it's the one that is sincere with Allah, then Allah will purify them. And in talking about the high stations in these spiritual meanings, a people traversed with yaqeen, certitude, upon water, and they didn't drown, and the water didn't come upon them. This is however, there were people greater in yaqeen than them, and they died from dhama, from thirst. They had a great degree. So the first group became comfortable with their walking on water, and sometimes, in times where there was no need. But then the second group that they may have died out of thirst, they knew that Allah could have granted them that. And He was pleased that if Allah makes him shaheed through dying from thirst, then He was pleased with that. So he is greater in his ubudiyya and servitude to Allah than that person who walked on water. May Allah purify us, cleanse us.
إن لم يتداركه الله بلطفه ويتولاه بعطفه إذا تداركه الإله يرد عن استطالته فلا يستطيل بما أوتي من قوة خرق العادات ويقف على ذلته وفقره ولا يكترث
So if Allah
امتناء بوجود الحق عنها وهو يعلم أنها إنما هي وداية وأن القوة لله جميعا لا إله إلا الله واكتفاء بنظره إليهم دونها فلا يستشرف إليه.
So such a person should know that Allah has all power and this is a gift from Allah.
وأهل التخصيص الذين أقيموا في الحال وساعدتهم العناية وتصرفت بتصرفهم القدرة لا يحكم بالإطلاق لهم.
I was reading the next passage in the text.
من أن يكون ذلك لهم اختبارا وامتحانا لصدق عبوديتهم فهم مع بروزها عنهم غير مأمون عليهم من فتنتها والركون إليها. وأما العارفون وخواص المقربين فلا يطلبونها تحديا وإن وقعت على أيديهم فيرونها من جملة مقدورات الله وإن طلبوها في بعض الأحايين فأي أمور اقتضت منهم يظهروها وذلك إما أن تظهر لهم في أنفسهم فذلك أضعف عندهم أو منهم لغيرهم فذلك الغير إما أن يكون مريضا ضعيف الإرادة والنية فيطلبونها تثبيتا لإرادته وتقوية لنيته وإما أن تظهر لهم من غير شعور فيطلبونها منهم بل عناية من الله بهذا العبد الذي ظهرت له ولطفا بوليه ويكون الحق يظهر بمثاله لهداية عباده وهذا يكون للخليفة ومن قرب مقامه من أهل الكمال. وإما أن يظهر
الخليفة الكامل يقول أهل التخصيص الذين أقيموا في الحال
The people of Takhsis are those who are established in a hal
آثار يظهرها الله تعالى قد تحصل من الانفعالات حكم السنة الإلهية في شؤون الروح بذلك تجد أن أهل الرياضات الروحية حتى من الكفار قد توجد لهم بعض أشياء مستغربة وخارقة للعادة بحكم ما جاء.
So the affairs of the Ruh, you find the people of striving of the kuffar will appear to them some supernatural occurrences. So just trying to get the volume back.
أشياء كلها عجائب مثلا مرتبة يرتب لهذه الروح انفعالات لأشياء كثيرة ولكن حقائق الكرامات والمعجزات ما هو مجرد انفعال الأشياء ولا وجود خارق العادة وأشرف من خارق العادات الكونية تحقيق
So I was giving us an explanation of how different things happen in a normal way in the world, like water going from top to down. You know, there's just certain rules that happen in the world. And likewise the self. However, the true objective is to purify the self and to be granted nearness to Allah. This is greater than a rock turning to gold, or a human being flying in the air, in the sky. Then the noble objectives are being close to Allah forever through purifying oneself, cleansing one's heart. These are the ways that you can get to the closeness to Allah. The nufus, that the self likes those things which are strange. But the people of intellect and true hearts, they don't stop at this. They know it's about a person who is more purified and cleansed spiritually. This is greater. They are greater. They're more beautiful. Even if none of these miracles or supernatural occurrences happen on them, they are better. We see the prophets. Some of the prophets who are of a lesser rank have certain miracles, and higher ranked prophets don't, for instance, have. For instance, Ibrahim and Musa didn't have the wind subjugated for them, but Sulaiman did. But Musa and Ibrahim are better than Sulaiman. Because it's not about the miracle. So the virtue is not through the number or the type of miracles. And then we have istidraj and ihana for those that are other than other than the path to Allah. So we cannot just rule that a person has these miracles is closer to Allah. It's said that Sayyidina Jibreel and Sayyidina Mikael, the two angels, cried, and they said, Allah said to them, "Come, did I not protect you and guarantee you?" They say, "We are not safe from your punishment." He says, so be like this, because no one can encompass him in knowledge. And we find that the fear of the prophets of Allah is greater than anyone else. They knew him more, so they feared Allah more. And their rank with Allah is greater. The Prophet ﷺ says, I fear Allah more than you. I know Allah more than you. I'm aware of Allah more than you. So his hope and his fear in Allah is greater than anyone else, because he knows Allah more. So there's no heart that has hope in Allah like Muhammad ﷺ, nor does a heart have fear of Allah like the fear of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ of Allah. So the Arifun and the chosen Muqarribun, they don't stop at the karamat. They just see from those things that Allah has given them, like planting the tree and being quenching your thirst through drinking water. Because they see that Allah is the one that is doing this and that, whether it's a supernatural occurrence or these normal things that are occurring in the world. Allah says, for me to give provision of wisdom to my servant is better than or greater than some power.
الرد عليه وصده لغرض صحيح لنفع الناس.
So a person who is still early on the path may receive a supernatural occurrence, and this will strengthen their iman.
هذا كثير يحصل لكثير من الأولياء، تنفع الأشياء تظهر من دون ما يكون هم قصدوها ولا التفتوا إليها، فتنفع لهم، تظهر على أيديهم كرامات كثيرة. لما قالوا لسيدنا الشيخ بقى بن سالم من تعرض لكم أو أساء الأدب في حقكم ومقامكم يعجل بالعقوبة، قال والله ما قد دعوت على مسلم أبدا. وإذا علمت أن حتى
sometimes the people close to Allah will have a supernatural occurrence come to them without them really seeking it. And sometimes, in order to prove a point, someone that's denying them or negating them from the people.
فيحصل من غير شعور منه، يحصل للكثير منهم ذلك. لا إله إلا الله. قال بل عناية من الله بهذا العبد الذي ظهرت له لطفا.
And for instance, with Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salim, and they say if someone comes and deals with you in a disrespectful way, we find that something happens to them. He says, well, I don't know this. I never make dua to Allah to harm anyone. And if I knew this, then I would seek intercession for them. So this is about the manifestation of the karamat, the supernatural occurrences upon the friends of Allah, the awliya.
يقولوا أكثر خوارق العادات تكون لمن خرج من نفس العادات، عادة النفس غفلتها، وعادة النفس غيها، وعادة النفس مطالبتها بحقوقها، وعادة النفس الترفع على غيرها، وعادة النفس التثاقل عن الطاعة. So most of the supernatural occurrences come to those who have removed the ordinary things from themselves. من نفسه، فهذه تنخرق لهم العادات الكونية لما خرجوا من أنفسهم العادات. So the heedlessness of the self, these things that come from the self, seeking its rights, seeking to be superior of others, and being lazy in good deeds, loving desires. So if he overpowers these things, then he gets these supernatural occurrences. So sometimes the people of Allah will seek a supernatural occurrence in order to protect and preserve the affairs of the Muslims, or to repel a harm. And rarely is it to repel something against them. Rather, they are even more persevering than others. So they don't really seek to, ward away harm from their own selves. Some of the Arifin say, oh Allah,
when some trial came upon him, he says, "Oh Allah, you've allowed me to resemble your awliya and your elect people."
فإذا أراد الحق نزول الأمر وجعله قضاء مبرم يكشف له عن أسرار هذه الحكمة وما فيها وسيعرف أنها
As for the general folk of Muslims, these awliya try and seek to repel harm from them because the best of people are the most beneficial to others.
بقدره هذا فيقف لمن يرضى بذلك
So
لا إله إلا هو
he enters a khalwa, for instance, solitude, in order to help the Muslims.
الذين تجري عليهم غير التفات منهم إليها هؤلاء الذين صفت قلوبهم تماما وما عاد التفتوا وفيهم نوع من هذا البلح عن الكائنات
And if Allah's decree is one that is absolute, He may unveil to that servant the wisdom behind it. And so he accepts and he is content with it.
وذوقهم العالي الرفيع اللهم لا تحرمنا خير ما عندك لشر ما عندنا وبارك لنا في هذه الليالي العشر وفي هذه الدورة التي ابتدأت فيها واجعل لنا ولأهلها نصيبا وافرا من تنقيتنا وتخليصنا عن شوائبنا.
And those people who are simple, they don't even glance towards these supernatural occurrences. So the way of the Gnostics in their elevation and their perception of these supernatural occurrences, oh Allah, because of our bad, don't allow us to be prevented from the good of you that you have. Bless us with these Dawrah and the 10 days of the Hijjah. Oh Allah, purify us from our harms and our diseases. You gave us Iman and worship for this time from our birth or from our beginning of Islam. However, we still haven't removed a lot of diseases and faults. Oh Allah, remove these faults from us. Increase us from your generosity and your bounty, and oh Allah, allow us to enter your arena of witnessing. Oh Allah, grant us from the light of the Tawheed of the Prophet ﷺ of you, so we can reach the highest of levels of Tawheed of you. Make these days the best of days for us and upon the people of Islam, so we can elevate ourselves and purify ourselves and cleanse ourselves from all of our faults. Oh Allah, increase us in provision from you. Oh Allah, protect us outwardly and inwardly by the secret of the Fatiha and to the presence of the Prophet. إلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين صراط المستقيم. And now the students in the Dawrah should commence memorizing the qasida, the poem that is assigned for the Rowha, the first few verses. And we're going to cover the commentary of some of the words of this qasida of Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salim.
ينال المزية يترقى بها الصادق مراقي عليا